First, addressing the youngest set of community in our academic life, the undergraduates. So, talking to them, I would like to get the initiative about research internships. So research internships are like, we know that there are internships, people go to, undergraduates go to the industry and get experience. And also there are something like research internships. They go to research institutes, universities, and do somewhat research kind of experience. So to get that flavor of research internships, let's talk about local opportunities of getting research internships. I would like to invite Professor Roshan Ragel and Dr. Prasanga Mantilaka for this. First, Professor Ragel, please give your ideas about how to secure and get opportunities for research internships, especially for these undergrads.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Janaka, for the first question. So we are planning on starting from the undergraduate students to the early career researchers. And talking about undergraduates, the objective of such a research internship at an undergraduate level is to start up or build your research portfolio. So that's where we are trying to start. So the question asked from me, from Janaka, is on local opportunities. So what are the local opportunities that are out there in terms of an undergraduate getting started, building their portfolio, research portfolio? The very obvious place is the students get an opportunity to do internship, or as in engineering, we call it industrial training. So that's the very first opportunity where they get to formally interact with outsiders. So if you take Sri Lanka, locally, we have opportunities like research institutions. Example, we have Arthur C. Clarke Center, a research institution where students can go and do a research internship, or other research in places like Institute of Fundamental Studies, where you can go and do research internships. So that's one opportunity. And you also have private institutions or private companies, particularly in the field of computer science. There is enough and more research, particularly in places like now the hot topics like machine learning, data sciences, data engineering. There's a lot of research even companies are doing. So that's another place where they can go and start doing this. So these are places where particularly students can spend time on research internship or industrial training, as we call them in engineering. However, these are the undergraduate students' opportunities locally are not limited to such internships. They can start early when they are in the second year, third year. They can start looking at the researchers in who are closest to them, like who are their teachers. So they can talk to them. They can look at their research profiles, see what they do, and work towards or talk to them, figure out what sort of research they can do, what research means. So those who have, as undergraduate, those who have such interest, they can start very early, reach out to the lecturers, professors they have access to. So that's where they should start, but then they then can formally enforce it in a research internship at their internship time, which is usually towards the end of their career, undergraduate career. So that will give, I hope, a starting point to discuss about the internship. Thank you, Janaka.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Roshan. So research internships, it is not only for the undergrads, but also for people who are doing MPhils, masters, to strengthen their the experience and the degree. And also, I would like to invite Dr. Prasanga for his ideas, his thoughts about this topic, research internships.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Janaka. That was a very important question. And I think Professor Ragel already mentioned many things. But if I add something, now as a material science and engineering person, so I believe that this crowd is completely on computer science background. However, it doesn't mean the computer science means we can apply it for any field. So you can find internships in industries and research institutes, like Professor Ragel mentioned. Not only Arthur Clarke, so many institutes are there. So if you visit the National Research Council website, you will find lots of institutes. Even the rubber research, tea research, Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology, Industrial Technology Institute, so many institutes are there. So what I propose is, so you can contact those, so you can visit their websites, then you can find some scientists, senior scientists, and then leaders there. Then you can contact them. So even from the University of Peradeniya, you have lots of access to these institutes. Our university staff members, and then business linkage unit office is there. Then even in engineering faculty and science faculty, though there are lots of units to support the industries, collaborate between universities and industries. So you can discuss with those people, then leaders, then you can pitch your ideas to industries. Let's say you have a machine learning technique to improve a process, then you can propose it. Then with that, they will understand your area. Then they will develop some internships for you. They will find the needs. So you can create needs, then you can go visit that place and develop everything. And also especially for industries, we need lots of solutions, process development, process improvement, product development, and then marketing is another big aspect. So we can develop mobile labs, various systems from computer science. So all fields you can cover. You can study the particular industrial areas, then you can address it. So that is some of my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prasanga. When talking about internships, it is not only local, but we also have the foreign opportunities. So to discuss about the foreign opportunities we can have, I invite Professor Saman Halgamuge from the University of Melbourne to share his ideas.
Thank you very much. And undergraduate opportunities overseas are not very common. So I have to be honest with this, because most of the funding we receive do not allow us to, at least in Australia where I work, and do not allow us to sponsor undergraduate students from overseas to come here. But generally, and there are internship programs offered by companies, like, for example, IBM India has a very strong program. And Infosys, another major Indian company, has a fantastic program that our students here apply to and go to. And so it's usually the institutions, and IITs have a program. And some of the companies in Australia, Malaysia, I know that they are advertising for internships. So I can see that a lot of universities are using these internship opportunities or trying to use it, but it is somewhat limited in my view. But broadening the internship experience, and I would say look at the conferences. And if you have finally a project conference paper that you submit to a conference, and sometimes these conferences have grants for you to go. It's not internship, but it's still better to have that research networking experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Halgamuge. I invite Professor Gehan Amaratunga for his valuable ideas about research internships.
Yes, thank you, Janaka. Just following on, I work in Europe or in England mainly. I have had undergraduate research interns on a couple of occasions from India, especially, and also from Japan. So it depends on your research funding, as Professor Halgamuge said. If your research funding is, has the freedom to appoint whomever you want, which is generally industrial research money, then that possibly gives you the opportunity to bring over a student who's very bright to play some role in a research program that you're doing. But, you know, I think the problem is that if you randomly apply to universities and everybody in a scattergun approach, that is not so productive. But if you do some research on the areas that you would like to do some research in, or the appeals to you, and then focus and write to the researcher specifically, saying why you're motivated to go there. So, you know, you need to do a little bit of research before you apply for an internship. Then I think there's a, you know, not an unreasonable chance that you may get somebody to give you an opportunity to come over for the summer. Of course, it's costly, so the person has to be very good. I mean, generally what happens is that you cover the local expenses of staying there. But travel, for example, the person will have to meet. So, you know, it's not totally funded in terms of travel at least, but of course, all local expenses would be met. So yeah, that's what I can say. I mean, in Europe as well, I would say in Germany as well, there are opportunities for undergraduate researchers to go there. And a lot of Indian undergraduates do travel for these internships, and then they follow that up through the contacts they make to go and do PhDs or masters in those countries and those groups and institutions. So I think there's possibility, but it's generally for later undergraduates who are in their final year, most probably, or in their penultimate year before they go into the final year.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Gehan Amaratunga. So according to our experience in our department, we had certain research internships in foreign institutes as well. So we had places like Aalto University, Finland, Singapore National University, Nanyang Technological University, that sort of universities, research internship. But what I see is these things are mainly coming through the known contacts we have. And this year also, this year is in previous it was like people have to travel there, but this year it's like there are a lot of remote opportunities. We have current internship batch students are in Griffith University, Auckland, Harvard, and some Singapore places. But I think with this COVID situation, there are like some opportunities to conduct remote research internships, do some research, and they are mainly not funded. So I think there will be opportunity if our students look for them. Thank you.
That would apply in CS if you're doing software-based or computer-based research.
Yeah.
But if it's lab and experimental, I think that the virtual part is more difficult.
Yeah. So like we are fortunate, we are doing computer research mostly. So we have opportunities, we can make them in real. Yes. So next, my focus is going to graduates. So first we talked about mainly focusing undergraduates. Now we are going towards graduates. So now my question is about opportunities to start postgraduate studies with local grants. We have local funding bodies like National Science Foundation, National Research Council, and maybe more. So I invite Dr. Prasanga Mantilaka, who has experience in doing his PhD with the National Research Council with a grant. So he will share his experience and his thoughts about this topic.
Yeah, thank you for the important question you raised. Now, actually, I did my PhD under NRC 11-178 research grant under Professor Parakramakaranaratne at Faculty of Engineering, University of Peradeniya, and also Professor Gamini Rajapaksha at Department of Chemistry and Professor Amarasuri Pitawala at Department of Geology. It is something on material science and engineering and nanotechnology, and also geochemistry related multidisciplinary subject area. Then the Professor Parakramakaranaratne received the grant. Then what I did was I performed well. I published 10 papers in the international index journals, then about 16 conference papers and 6 patents. So with that achievement, then the grant became one of the highest rated grants in NRC. So if we achieve that kind of performance, then immediately after completing our PhDs, then NRC tend to award grants for us, because the best thing is when I passed out after PhD, I immediately joined the Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology. My former boss was Professor Gehan Amaratunga, who is participating here. Now, under his guidance, I immediately after joining with the Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology, I applied another NRC grant. With my previous achievements, I got the opportunity immediately. I got the grant without any problem. Professor Gehan was also a co-investigator there. Then we have that kind of opportunities when we perform well. So even in Sri Lanka. So there is, I don't think there is no limit to a country. If we want to do a quality PhD, we can do it anywhere if we perform well. So then, and also we had problems on analyzing some certain things. For example, scanning electron microscope was not in Sri Lanka by the time, only at Sri it was highly costly. So then we found some international collaborations with Loughborough University. Professor Putijayant helped me for that part. So we can have some collaborations with foreign universities if we don't have enough facilities. They help us for free of charge, just we want to add their names in our publication. That's the only thing. Then we can apply after completing a research grant well, we can apply again and again, because then we get high rated for our grants. Then the local grants will support us. And also the same happened with National Science Foundation. Those two are the major granting bodies in Sri Lanka. And occasionally we get some World Bank funding for our universities. Then, for example, HETC grants, things like that. And also international research grants are available. Collaboratively, we can work on it. So we also received such a grant with Singapore and then UK related universities. So we completed that kind of research grants. So then also in my PhD, if I make some example, though, we lab scale, we developed many materials, more than 20 nanomaterials from natural resources. Then immediately we, Professor Parakrama received another grant from National Science Foundation. It has a grant for research commercialization. That means to develop factories and or pilot plant scale studies. So we got another 20 million research grant from NSF to do pilot plant studies. Then after that, we pitched the research to Minister of Environment recently. Then they agreed, Minister of Environment, Minister Mahinda Amarayura agreed to support through his institutes. So then, because we have completed everything, patented and completed the pilot plant studies, now we are going to develop a factory through their funding, government funding. So that kind of opportunities are available even in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Prasanga. So actually, if we are looking for opportunities, even in our local scientific community, we can have opportunities like places like National Science Foundation. They have several grant schemes to support postgraduate students, and also some companies that like recently Dr. Prasanga and myself, we talked about funding a MPhil student from his R&D grant coming with his some investment fund. So
yeah, if I add something to that, Dr. Janaka, actually I started the institute called Materials Engineering that is dedicated for that. However, I have started about 4 startup companies to support our local community. So that will help. Now I'm going to design some projects, especially like I discussed with you. Now you pitched an idea to me. Then I'm going to find some funding for that. So if students have that kind of interest, So they can pitch to us, then we can find investors and industries for them.
Yeah. So these resource persons are actually very valuable. So in the audience, if you are interested, you can, after this discussion, you can directly talk to them and find out what are the more opportunities you can grab. And I invite Professor Roshan Ragel to add his thoughts for this topic.
Yeah, thank you, Janaka. In fact, like Prasanga brought up most of the issues or most of the opportunities related to PG opportunities locally. But just to add to it, from a institution, from a PG awarding institution, from a university's perspective, most of the universities for postgraduate research work, their tuition fees are very much low. And I mean, for example, if you take Peradeniya, our faculty engineering, we charge 50,000 rupees per year as a tuition fee, which is if you do a 3-year PhD or 4-year PhD, just 200,000 rupees, very small amount. At the same time, those who are performing well, first class undergraduate having a first class, usually these fees are again waived. So in terms of tuition fee, there's not a big challenge. But where the challenge is, because we are talking about money, where the challenge is their living expenses. If they are going to do full-time research, we have to feed them, right? So that part is the money we had to even from a student perspective or a postgraduate student perspective, they had to focus. And there are large amount of different opportunities locally. Most of them are highlighted already, right? So that is one. And also now most of the universities are working on collaboration with foreign universities, having collaborations, having these split programs or joint programs where you do part of the degree here, part you go and do abroad. Even Peradeniya, we have, even engineering, we have large number of such collaborations and so on. Even I know like other universities do similar collaboration. So there is enough opportunities if you look for it. And if you are local, if you are planning on getting a local degree, then in terms of tuition fee, it's very small, like I said. So there are encouraging factors like that you can consider. So I just wanted to add that aspect to what was already covered by Prasanga. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Roshan. So not only local, but now we are focusing on foreign opportunities we can get. So I invite Professor Saman Halgamuge to express his ideas. So a lot of students are interested in going to Australia, and recently there was a question asked from one person from the audience: is it possible to get direct PhDs in Australian universities? So over to you, Professor Saman.
Yeah, I think it might be similar tradition to the UK, and so those in Australia you can directly go to do a PhD from undergraduate degree if you have a really high grades. And so I can say that I have supervised about 20 Sri Lankan students to completion of PhDs, and I would say majority of them came directly from undergraduate degrees, and only maybe 4 or 5 of them came after doing masters. So now we have a really very large number of opportunities to get scholarships and do PhDs overseas. And so that will include usually the tuition waiver. So that means you don't pay anything to the university and you get a living stipend enough to cover your expenses. And if you're married, and that's still good enough in my view, and at least in Australia. So these are government rates that they provide. So these scholarships partly funded by the Australian government through the universities and partly from the universities directly. So it's very different from UK on that aspect, and different to United States as well. So where you have to do some work to get your living stipend in some cases. It's not the case here. So in Australia, it's a mixture of these traditions and other places. And the PhD is around 3.5 years. And so it's shorter than some other countries. But it's fully focused, and you're not doing too much coursework. In most cases, 0 coursework. So that means you're not attending lectures. And so the money is there for if you have really good grades and couple of publications, and you are graduated from a good university in Sri Lanka, so they look at that too. And so now it's not only in Australia. I'm aware of quite a large number of opportunities available in other countries, like Japan, for example, has a very they are taking many Sri Lankan students, and then even in places like China are taking Sri Lankan students as PhD students, and of course India and many other countries, Sweden, quite a popular destination. So I think that is probably quite normal, the tradition to find that. So how do you do that? And you probably have to write to a supervisor and with your transcripts and with your interest, and then the supervisor will support your application and guide you through the process. So in fact, I did it this morning with a Sri Lankan student to guide over Zoom, and I have actually invited him to apply for PhD with me because he got a gold medal in a discipline I'm interested in. So we are constantly looking for exceptional students, and but from student side also they can contact potential supervisors to get sponsorship and so on. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Saman Halgamuge. So with my experience, I started my PhD in Queensland University of Technology in 2012. So during that time, I think maybe it is not that competitive like today. So I had one paper published in Sri Lanka in IEEE conference. So I thought that sort of achievement will be definitely helpful. But even like all the days, it was like one paper is enough. But I think nowadays it is just one paper is not enough. So always you guys have to students, you guys have to try to do your research at your very best level and try to publish them. So then only you can get more opportunities in foreign places. So I would invite Professor Gehan Amaratunga to share his ideas about this topic. Mainly he can focus about UK and other countries as well. Over to you, Professor Gehan.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Janaka. I think I'd start off by making the point that you did, that it is very competitive. And I would say that you're competing in a global market. So there are many people from different countries who would, are looking to go to different universities in more developed countries, not just for the academic training, because that's a life opportunity as well. So I mean, there's a lot of competition, but that competition is global. My university, University of Cambridge, is predominantly a national university at undergraduate level, but at postgraduate level, we are basically a global university. We will not take our first-class students if we find a better first-class student from another university somewhere in the world. Okay, so it's a sort of a competition. We have scholarships which are available, but it's very competitive. They're fully funded. Some of them are partially funded. And I would tell you that the bar has been raised massively in my time as an academic in getting a scholarship. I mean, I got a scholarship to the University of Cambridge to do a PhD. I was an undergraduate in the UK, but straight after my undergraduate degree, I got a good first-class honors degree and so on. But now that is not enough at all. And I think that bar has moved. Mainly, I would say the influence has been for students from China, because the Chinese students have a 3-year master's degree, which they can do. And after that master's degree, they've published, 10, 15 papers. They've almost already done 2/3 of a PhD. And so they tend to be looked upon more favorably because they can, hit the ground running. And so a lot of research is competitive. You want to be first, getting some results out. And therefore, that sort of feeds back. So all I would say is that we don't only recruit people like that, but the evidence of being able to do research before you start a PhD is now almost a requirement. the UK, I would say, in what I would call the Russell League universities. So it's just competitive, but there are opportunities. I mean, I know somebody, and I've written a reference to somebody from John Kotalawala Defense University, who came and did an internship with me, actually, but was funded by the NSF in Sri Lanka. Came and did an internship with me, and now she's got a PhD grant at Imperial College in London. So, it's a process, but you have to persevere, and you have to, you really need to want to do a PhD as a career path, not just a continuation of something to do, but it's now really a career path into research, and it's a professional type of commitment that you need to do a PhD.
Thank you, sir. So doing a PhD, actually I think you guys, the students, they have to look at research profiles of various professors in renowned places. Then they can get some idea about what sort of research are going on, and who are the personalities, the best top researchers in the world, and what are the sort of research they are doing, and current focus, that sort of things. I think that sort of homework students should do while they are searching for opportunities. And now I'm going to talk about, open up the discussion about split and joint postgraduate degree programs. So Professor Gehan, Amaratunga, your ideas about this split and joint degree programs.
I think that I don't have experience of joint programs. I do have experience of split programs. That is, if you're getting your degree from I think you already touched upon that. If you're going to get your degree, say, from the University of Peradeniya, but you want to send a student, or you want to go and do an internship at a university abroad for a year, or even a shorter period, I think that becomes very possible, especially if the two supervisors at the two ends know each other, or they're interested in the same thing. They're trying to do research together. So, research collaboration is something which is very good because it doubles the output, right? So even from the foreign university point of view, to collaborate with a university in Sri Lanka or anywhere in the world is a good thing. But of course, there may be some, resources involved, but those resources are an investment to, if you get a good student to come and work jointly on a program. The problem becomes is if you want to enroll in a Western university, you have to start to pay fees and go through the admissions process and all that, then it becomes much more arduous. So I think the split program thing is a very good thing. Now, if you have to have a formal split program, which means that to be approved by the administrations of the two universities and so on, that can take forever. The whole question of degree branding and whether you're undercutting the degree which you're awarding locally by having having somebody else collaborate with you and award a degree. So I think degree collaboration with a joint degree is very difficult. I mean, I know that NTU in Singapore have done something with Imperial College, but that's at a very high level, and lots of money has transferred between the institutions for such things to happen. So I also think that it's most probably good for Sri Lanka to have a split program where the degrees are awarded from the local universities, because that raises the profile of the local universities. And then that's a positive feedback cycle, because then you become, your profile as research universities grow up. And then when your students apply abroad, there's already a sort of a credibility that you're coming from a research intensive background. So I think that's what I would like to say. Actually, something which I wanted to add, which I forgot to add earlier on, is that there are lots of also good opportunities in Europe. Actually, I would suggest that a lot of Sri Lankan students, especially look at the Netherlands, Germany, and the Scandinavian countries, where you can do the research in English. In fact, you don't have to do it in their local languages, because there's relatively small countries. But even in Germany now, you can do PhDs in English. So I think in Europe as a whole, there are a lot of opportunities, and there's funding and there's encouragement to recruit students from all over the world as well.
Janaka, there's one question, maybe it can also be answered by Prof. Amaratunga. The question is about like industry-related PG, like with the industrial experience here locally, can they go and do PG in, particularly I know in Europe, there's a lot of industry-related PGs. If you can say a few things about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there are PhDs which are jointly operated with industry in a university anywhere in Europe, for example, or in the UK, then a student who has done industrial-related research in that area would be obviously have a better chance of getting a position. But again, I think coming to Janaka's point as well, you need to do some research to find out what those opportunities are. And I think that research is quite possible now because everything is on the web, on the internet, available, through keywords, you should be able to find people. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Gehan Amaratunga. So I would invite Professor Saman Halgamuge to share his ideas about this split and joint programs between maybe Sri Lanka and Australia and with other countries. He has a lot of experience about that as well. Over to you, sir.
Okay, sorry. I have experience in setting up a program between IITs and my university. It is a joint PhD program, as we call it. So the students starts there and at IIT and spend about 2 years, I believe, and then they come over to us and spend with us 2 to 3 years. And then go back and then complete the PhD, and they get a joint certificate. So one single certificate saying it's a jointly awarded PhD, so which is interesting. So I know that Queensland University of Technology has a program with UGC of Sri Lanka for staff. And I know that Peradeniya University and RMIT University, which is another university in Melbourne, has a joint PhD program. And so there are a few already available. I believe University of Queensland is signing another one. So so it's gaining popularity, and with institutions where the research is has some reputation, and also in areas where research has some reputation. And we also had University of Melbourne had a program with UGC as well, which I helped set up, and I think it completed its duration of 5 years. So, and these joint PhD programs are quite dynamic. And so you need to do your search. And the advantage of that is that you will be embedded in 2 different research cultures. And then you have the opportunity to stay in Sri Lanka a little bit longer, so which is also nice. And while having meetings with your overseas-based supervisors regularly using Zoom. And so to answer another question that was raised, industry-related programs. So yes, it's very common. So I had a program with Robert Bosch in Germany, and I had even one Sri Lankan student under that program, and who had to go there and spend in the company for 1 year. I had another program with IBM in Zurich in Switzerland. And again, a Sri Lankan student who went there and spent 1 year in that lab. So it's quite common to have something related to industry or another research lab overseas, because we collaborate with a lot of international researchers. So, it is getting more and more frequent, the split and joint PhD programs. So in addition to that, there's another form of joint program that is called jointly supervised. So it could be a student enrolled in at Peradeniya University, but co-supervised by overseas researcher. So that is also quite interesting, because potentially, and the student in Sri Lanka get an opportunity to come to the overseas lab for a month. And but the degree will be from Peradeniya University, for example, but you have an additional supervisor overseas from research intensive university. I think that is quite beneficial to have that arrangement, and it's quite easy to have that arrangement as well.
Thank you, sir. So that kind of like research collaborations and going to a different research lab and spend some time there doing maybe new research or with a different supervisor is quite common in some countries, especially in Europe. And also during my PhD time in QUT, there were a couple of students who went to Microsoft research in US for 3 months summer internship programs. So that sort of opportunities are available. Even in Sri Lanka, we have to, I think, students who are starting PhD programs with the local universities should aware of these kind of opportunities and try to apply, try to talk with potential supervisors, research group leaders, and get those opportunities. I also got, it is not a very formal thing, but I met a professor from Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation, NTT, Japan, and I discussed whether I can start a internship with his lab while I finished my PhD thesis, and while my supervisors are reading it, I went to Japan and spent a couple of time in that lab. So that was a very fruitful opportunity because I could publish 4 papers out of that. So that's sort of the opportunities we grab from available resource persons with our networks, research networks, like just like informal chats. I think that will be very useful for build up many opportunities and upgrade your careers. So, and there was one other question asking, does the age a barrier for starting a research? I don't think age is a barrier, but for certain funding schemes, there are things like age below 45, age below 35.